All right. What's good, y'all? This is another episode of Just Made Media Presents One-on-One. And in the studio today, we got my man, DJ Uncle L.
What up, though?
All right. And just want to say peace to everybody who we got a small studio audience in the house today. Thanks so much for everyone coming down. If you are fortunate enough or lucky enough to randomly be searching through Twitch right now, you can actually see this live. This was filmed early in November, but this will be out officially a little later on after we start rolling out all the episodes. This is the second episode. We now call it One-on-One. It was called Open Studio Live, but we found out that this good brother here is involved with a great event that we'll get into a little later. Yeah, just want to send shout-outs real quick. We got Gigi behind the boards, Big Zach's in the house, Yassine, Dre the Brave, and my man Leon, no doubt. Yeah, these are all producers, artists, entrepreneurs, everything lovely. You see what I'm saying? So anyhow, so let's get into it with Uncle L, man. Pleasure to have you. And
Pleasure to be here.
Yo, good looks, man. Thank you for doing this. I want to talk a little bit about, we're going to get into the very beginning, but maybe you could actually start out with talking about your label. I know you have a label and a lot of artists that you work with and maybe some of the events you've done in the past few years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say label. Like, I have been independently releasing music, but it's just like on Uncle L Bandcamp, like, basically. And then I have worked with a couple labels that I'm still currently like involved with, like etc. Media, ETC, educating the children. It's just an acronym you can flip any kind of way you want, as long as it's positive. So that's with the homie Radius, etc. There's also Machine Wash Music, Filthy, Analex. There's actually, yeah, those are the three that I've been mainly working with. And the last record I put out, like an actual record in 2020, was via me and A Billy Free, an artist that I've been working with since 2014, 2015. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoy that whole journey of, like, going through, like, ordering, manufacturing, mix and master, all that.
Definitely.
And getting it out there.
Yeah, man. Since this pandemic has happened, there's actually been a rush on the vinyl record manufacturing. People are saying there's about a year backlog. Like, nobody can get out vinyl production right now. So anybody who's sticking to their guns on that and, providing vinyl for the culture, that's much love to that, because the vinyl revolution is actually holding down independent artists again in a major way, putting money in our pockets, and I think it preserves a part of the culture that's, good for everyone.
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
What I'm saying?
It's always funny to me too. Like in popular media, when they regard it as like this vinyl resurgence or revolution, and it's like for cats like us that like DJs, collectors, like records never went anywhere. I have several homies that own record stores and they're doing well. So I would say it more so for cassettes, cassettes coming back hard.
True.
But even for the cats in that community, they're like, what you mean coming back? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yo, I remember, this is a little side comment, but there's a section of Brooklyn back home called East New York. There's mad chop shops out there. And when you roll through those blocks, you see like nothing but cars from like 96, 97, 2001, and these guys got cassette players in there, you know what I mean? So they really live their life like it was then, you know what I mean? And the system sounds good, and them cassettes sound good too. You turn them up loud, like music sounds good on the cassette, you know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely like more warmth to the sound. It can't be like duplicated in any other format. True. I know people that run like they'll record something, they might make a beat like digitally, they might be using, some software to make the beat or whatever, but they'll run it through a tape.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just to get that warmth.
Yeah.
Word. All right, so listen, let's now we're gonna take it back. I just wanted to, bring it current for a second just to get things going. But let's start in your early youth. getting down with hip hop, DJing and everything. What was your first introduction when you really started thinking to yourself like, man, I want to be a part of this culture?
I mean, early. I was probably like 5 years old. My brother, I have an older brother that's 8 years older than me, so he introduced me to a lot. Whether it was breakdancing or he had like a little drum machine at the house at some point. So I'm like witnessing all this in person, versus just secondhand or through, television, radio, or whatever. And yeah, like I'm dating myself, old, but nah, like in the '80s though, like you're seeing this thing like grow, and it was definitely intriguing. So it was something that I knew, you know, from my early childhood that I was gonna wanna somehow be involved.
True,
And
true.
so like later on, like toward high school, like late elementary, like I was getting into rapping. I used to just learn raps, like just be able to recite whatever my favorite rap song at the time was from beginning to end.
Right.
And I think that taught me how to like count bars and
Right.
taught me cadence and delivery, And then I started like writing my own raps. It was garbage. It was straight trash.
Nah,
But-
we all started, and we all start out somewhere. But how old were you? Would you say when you were really like, all right, I've wrote a couple verses now, and now I feel like, nah, these joints is official. I'm ready to actually show the neighborhood or whatever.
Man, that was just like high school, really. Like 15, 16. Like, that was when I first linked up with the homie Verbal.
Okay.
And he was like on another level to me. And it's funny because he'll say the same thing about me to this day. And I'm like, nah, dude, you're that dude. So again, I was talking about this off camera earlier. Like when you get around the right people, and then you just start building,
That's right.
and you're learning from each other, and you get also the validation back, like feedback, because otherwise you're some kid, writing raps in your bedroom. And it's just like, all right, yeah, I did that. Nobody has ever, or may ever hear this,
Right.
But yeah, so ciphering in front of school, like just that type of thing, getting into battling cats for absolutely no reason. Just
Yeah, right. Nah, it was very much a props culture. You know what I mean? And how else could you get your props unless you brought it live or you brought it directly to who was around the way or whatever? Because like I don't know about you, but I think it's safe to say if you can remember how hip hop was, it was like that idea of like the name rings bells. You know what I mean? If your name was ringing like that, someone knew that like, like he really does this. You know what I mean? Like then when you thought of yourself like that, you were like, I gotta measure up to that because that's a reputation that precedes itself. You know what I'm saying? So word. So that was cool. You mentioned about b-boying. That was one of the things that got me into DJing initially. So I would like to hear also for you, like, where did breaking, b-boying, how did that fit into your music pursuit?
There was at the time there was no division between any of it, right? So it was
Right.
I'm just a hip hop ass dude doing hip hop ass things.
True.
So
True.
So whether and again, that all surfaced, around high school. Like, so I went to high school in Rogers Park at Sullivan, and again in the '90s, cats was pulling up with linoleum and cardboard in front of the school,
Right.
and breakdancing in front of the school. And they're, a few feet away, it might be a cypher and cats are rapping. You know what I'm saying? So, and of course, you know rappers, you know beat makers. Like,
Exactly.
those go hand in hand, and the DJs. So it was like, just be hip hop. Matter of fact, an older cat told me when I was a shorty, I was like 14, and he was like, yo, I see you out here, you know what I'm saying? I see you on the basketball court, you play ball, I see you with the girls, I see you here, I see you there. You gotta pick a lane though. Like he was telling me like I gotta like pick something and go hard with it, right?
Right.
And he was like, cause I'd be like in the hood with cats doing hood things. And And he was like, you might not want to go down that path particularly, you know. And he was like, you have a promising future just being like a hip hop head and roll with that. And he just like from that moment forward, I was super fresh. Like
Yo,
he just put me on.
that's a blessing. That's like a guardian angel. In fact, there needs to be a lot more big brothers and big sisters out there,
Yeah.
looking out for the youth, letting them know. Like, it doesn't even have to be a kid that, like, it's obvious that the talent is, like, oozing from every pore. Like, it's hard being a teenager. Like, we could all relate to that back in them days when we was coming up. And that's the first time you're really discovering, who you are, and you're seeing your vision. You begin to, creatively imagine what your future might look like. And there needs to be someone who's like, yo, like, give you that little blessing, like, yo, don't be afraid, like, be yourself, take it to the max. You know what I mean? You might never know what's in your future. You know what I mean? So, thank goodness for that guy. You know what I mean? Because here we are today, all these years later. You done did your damn thing. You know what I'm saying? So,
For sure.
word. So let me ask you then. So little by little, now you're like basically a disciple of hip hop. You're doing practically everything there is. What were the first things that started to jump off for you, where now you started to look back, you were like, oh shit, like I'm in the game now, like, word.
Yeah, that was rap. Like it's like meeting so many people through that. And everything was so like direct in your face. Like we didn't have the internet like it is now. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
you
sure.
couldn't like record. I feel like
No, it was-
shaking my fist at the clouds. You couldn't record a song in a day and then release it to millions of people.
That's right. That's right.
You had to really like hit the streets. Like you had to go where you knew it was gonna be a ton of people. With that interest. So we would go like say a typical Saturday evening. You're gonna go to Navy Pier, and it'd be like 100 rappers on the pier, like just rapping. And you always had to have somebody that was beatboxing. Um, so yeah, huge ciphers. We'd go to Loyola radio station, Loyola University at the radio station downtown on Pearson. We knew people doing radio shows. Shout out to Hip Hop Project. Time Travel was WNUR, Northwestern. So we was trying to get on those shows, holler at those cats, and then you could get on air and freestyle. So all these things is just like playing new music and showing people who you are, right? So the only reason I ever wanted to record a song was to get on Time Travel Radio, which Gina just mentioned. Like, shout out to AMC, Jay Pratt, Foster, because they were playing like the most interesting stuff, right? And I was like, that's where I want to be. Like,
Right. Now, what years around was that?
Man, what? 98, 99, 2000, like, So I'll say, yeah, between like 98 and '02, something like that.
Yeah. So, all right. And, I love all the contextual names you dropping. It's for me, it's a pleasure to hear all this like real Chicago stuff. You know what I mean? So, all right. So then from there, eventually, I know you're doing your thing, rapping, you're jumping on probably tapes, whatever you're recording. When did the DJing start really coming up for you?
I've always just like known a lot of DJs, hung around a lot of DJs, and at the time rapping before we really had a lot of like beats to record to, and especially like for live shows, we didn't even really want to perform over our own beats. Like we wanted to give like a crowd something familiar, so I started collecting 12 inches with instrumentals. So like whatever songs was out, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, I gotta get that beat. And then I wasn't the DJ. I would pass that off to we had several DJs. We had a crew, me, Verbal, and our other guy, Scientific, called Manifest Destiny. And, we had a few different DJs. And so I'd always just like pass the records off, like, yo, we gonna rhyme over this one, and then you're gonna switch to this one at this point, whatever. We practice and do that thing. So then I just started amassing a collection. Um, and again, always being around DJs at the time, like I would just start messing around, like practicing. Not really being taught by anybody at the time. Just like, all right, everybody's over here doing whatever. I'm jumping on the tables. Um, and so I pretty much taught myself how to blend.
Right.
But then, so like I got booked to like play my first party when I was like freshman in college, and I was trash. Like it was a thing. They were like, "Oh, hey, L, we heard you DJ. You know, we're doing this party." It was like a Black Student Union like official joint, and they had a check for me. You know, and I was like, "Okay, but all I got is this super underground hip hop shit." Like. And
Right.
because they was ready to party. Like I made a special trip to Gramophone and bought a bunch of records because I was like, all right, maybe they'll dance to this. And so I say that to say like I wasn't like ready fresh out the gate.
Right,
I
right.
wasn't the especially not the person I am today. I tell people all the time when they're trying to get into DJing, I was like, well, it takes you like 10 years to get okay.
Sure.
Like not even good, just like you'll get through a set. But then I think it was like by like '08, I moved in with like 4 DJs in a house. Like we're renting this house, and we had 5 turntables set up in the basement, and they would do stuff like play horse, like you know the basketball game where you
Yeah.
have to copy the last person's move, you know, you get a letter. So they were doing that with like scratches.
That's awesome. That's the first time I ever heard some shit like that.
So
Word.
yeah, you had to mimic the last person's like patterns. So that was how I learned a little bit about scratching. I'm no like turntablist by any means, but just being in that atmosphere and like you know we were recording mixes in the basement, and it just made me better, you know. And that was when I felt like I was being like taught, you know.
Yo, that's horse for DJing. That's like that's cool. Like I've literally never heard someone say that before, and that could work today. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, a bunch of DJs in the room having spell out the letter. You're out. You know, you can't gig for the next month or whatever, right?
But yeah, it's literally exercise. It's like you know, Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. Okay, word. So, all right. So now you're really, you're in the mix. Imagine living in a house with 4 DJs. There was probably a lot of events, a lot of places to be, a lot of people coming through, a lot of people to go meet. So it sounds like that's kind of what opened the door where all of a sudden you found yourself you're working. You're working all the time.
Yeah.
And so what were some of the first venues or lounges that you could say like, okay, like now my name is in the building, I'm really establishing myself here. You know what I mean?
You know, it was
Any of note, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
it was for me like particular residencies that I was doing. Whether it be the spot, a lot of them closed. Like Chicago's weird like that. Like you'll have a spot that's going for like 6 years, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and then or 10 years and it's gone, or something that's been open for 30 years, but then it gets popping, and then all of a sudden it's not there anymore. Like
Right,
people
right.
sell buildings or whatever. So a lot of places I'm mentioning don't exist. I was one of the first people bringing like electronic music to the West Loop area. That's like hella bougie and shit. Like it was a spot called Red Kiva right by Harpo Studio, which was like Oprah Winfrey's building.
Right,
Harpo
okay.
Studios.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
And that we had a night called Tronic there that lasted for a little bit. So I just like to like bring things to places that people don't think they should be.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So and we did that at Sonotech too, which is now Beauty Bar.
Okay.
I guess is that considered Ukrainian Village, West Town area. Um, so yeah, I had Movetronic there. So I was like, I had weeklies, I had monthlies. We had Dark Room, another legendary spot that closed some years ago. So yeah, it was just like I really tried to play everywhere I possibly can in Chicago too.
Word.
So I've done Smart Bar, but not Metro.
Word.
You know, yes, everywhere. Abbey Pub was a dope spot. Yeah.
Word, word. And so yeah, you mentioned the thing with the with electronic music as well. We all know Chicago's got a great house music tradition. So were you incorporating house music into what you were doing from the very beginning, or is that something that you kind of like began to merge at some point?
Um, I say there's always been an element because I mean I'm born and raised in Chicago, so
Right, right.
that's just in my heart. But like with Tronic, uh, it was more so like beat focused in a sense of I'm trying to explain to people that even you know pop music that you're listening to or you're hearing on the radio is still electronic music. It's still like this beat that whoever is singing over might have started, in somebody's bedroom on some pre-production shit, and then they just kind of like beefed it up, you know. Um, you hear about producers that start out, you know, in the beat scene are virtually unknown, and then they link with the right artist, and now they're international or whatever. So I was just trying to establish that connection with people and make that link because I know back then people would see like the flyer and it'd be like electronic music. What is this? It's like, and they're like, oh, I want to hear insert whatever popular song plays 50 million times on the radio back to back.
Right, right, right.
And I'm like, well, if you strip that down, then this is what it is. So, and also I feel like people they have to be told that their favorite song is their favorite song, like for it to be accepted.
Sure.
Like I might play something that, so I feel like I have an ear for that too. Like I'll hear something, I'll be like, this is gonna pop, right? But if I play it, people are like, yo, what is this? You might get a, yo, what is this? Or a, man, what is this, man?
Yeah.
But then you wait like, after a month of it being propelled to the masses and like getting that airplay and everybody's familiar, then it goes from what is this to, oh yeah, that's my shit. Like
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's
people
a great.
people are dumb.
Interestingly enough, I mean, there's some pros and cons to the era that we came up in. Let's say like late '90s, early 2000s versus now. Interestingly, like the radio is not as much of a peer pressure point anymore. Maybe that's a good thing because it's allowed a lot of independent scenes to thrive independent to themselves. There may not be as much money involved with the potential of like crossing over like there used to be, but that's okay because most people want to stay in the pocket and actually be involved with something that they actually enjoy, mean something to them, it's in their heart. But then, I think in the radio era, what we dealt with too is not only is the artist like living vicarious through the success that they see, but it's almost like this fear of like, you don't want to admit that you might be into something a little left of field. That's how some people are, at least. So they're waiting for validation amongst other people or maybe certain parties they go to or people they hang out with. And then if they feel like it's safe, they put their toe into the water. They're like, well, I like it too. You know what I mean? So, but if you're really independent minded from the beginning, you're not going to let that stop you. You're going to enjoy whatever you feel in your heart. You know what I mean? So, that's very interesting. A lot of what you're bringing up with that. And, you tell me, but I think that begins to become the engine on what drives you to always be creating.
Yeah, for sure. Because since day one, I've always been like a cat that wasn't looking for. I wasn't looking for a collective. or someone that already had something established for me to like latch on to. I always wanted to be that driving force. I always wanted to be like, all right, I got my own thing, and I'm gonna bring you in. You know what I mean? So that's how I was like, yeah, with Tronic, and then once I linked up with Push Beats, which was like pretty much at the beginning of that. Like they had just started a monthly, and it was like the same concept, but instead of it being just me, it was like 10 me's, you know? So we were constantly building and constantly like, educating each other and inspiring each other. Um, but it was always the same situation of being in these spaces where people have different expectations. And you kind of have to be like pushy about it. Like, no, we're doing us. Like, you can, there's people that would come with requests on nights where you got performers. You got people, just because they see them in the DJ booth, they got hardware up there, and there are no turntables. And people are still coming up like, hey, do you got such and such song? And it's like, nah, man, but you know what? I could tell you where you could find that.
Word.
You don't have to be here right now. It's fine.
Yeah. Not everything is for everyone. You know what I mean? And no, I mean the DJ request thing is the DJ thing is the request is it's a bad thing, man. Like I've lived through it as being a working DJ. I'm not gonna name the song because I don't want it doesn't have to be about that. But let's just say I had someone come in and like really argue with me about I must play this song. I told them various things. I was like, let me see if I can get to that. I tried to be kind. Second, I was like, you know what? There's 10 people over here, and there's another 10 people over here, and they're in a different vibe. Like the nicest way of saying you're not the only one in the room. Mm-hmm. And then by the third time they came over, I was like, you know what? I got something for you. So I went and I found the song. I played the song all the way through. Then I played it again all the way through. And then I played it a third time all the way through. And then everyone in the room stopped what they were doing and just looked at this person in the middle of the floor. And they looked around. They were so embarrassed they left. I was like, yeah, that's what you get. Like you're being like, it's too much. Like, you know what I mean? So anyway, and all those years have taught me, like, when you walk into a room, why don't you just wait and see? Just enjoy yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and no offense to the smartphone era, but the smartphones are actually preventing people from kind of breaking the ice with each other, because they sit down and the first thing they do is they start, see what's hot on social media or maybe take a selfie. That's all good, but let's feel each other's energy. Yo, what's your name? How you doing? And then you could vibe to the music. The music sounds good. The sound system's good.
Yeah.
The drinks are nice. The people look great.
Have you ever had someone come up and make a request while you were still setting up?
Yes, actually I have. Yeah. Like, it's early. There's barely anybody in the room yet. There's basically they're playing the playlist that the bartender got on. Yeah, it's amazing. You look at them, you're like, let me see if I can do this one through telepathy. Hold on a second.
Yeah, it's like the level of entitlement is crazy. Or I've had instances where I'll tell someone, and I'm just being genuine. I'm like, oh, I don't have that. I'm sorry. And this is how I know that it's really about them trying to have control over what's happening. They pause and they go, what about
Yes.
like they're going through their head like, what else can I tell this dude to play so he could play it, and then I won. No,
I know it's a psychological trip. I've mostly always been like a club and a lounge DJ, but I've done a couple weddings. And weddings, sweet 16, stuff like that, family events, personal barbecue, stuff like that. That's when that's appropriate,
right?
You know what I mean? Because you are literally there for the family or whatever it is, and that's cool. But I think that it's like you can't possibly think the night that you put on your latest like club gear and you got you dressed to the nines and you got money in your pocket, you think that's the same as like Aunt Jody's wedding? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You couldn't possibly think that, right? But you know what I mean? So anyhow, but I feel your pain on that, brother. And you know, and like we were saying before, this is why we make music. This is why we belong to the creative community. You know what I mean? So yeah. So let me segue to this. I got a couple more things I want to hit at you before we get into this live set. But so one of the first times I really got to meet you, me and G moved back from New York to Chicago, and you were throwing a birthday party for yourself at the on the rooftop of Ace Hotel before they closed.
Wow, yeah.
And I really had a wonderful time that night. It reminded me of events that I haven't really been like to something like that in a while, where great DJ sets, but you had a couple live performers. That's where I was confused. I thought they were on your label or something, but they were amongst a group of collaborators, I guess. But you did a really great job. Came out like presented everyone like in a great way. Like, yo, this is the next artist to check for. Everyone in the crowd was super receptive, and there was a homie who jumped on the trumpet.
Yeah, Sam Thousand.
Yeah, Sam Thousand, and it was a homie. I'm sorry, there was a young lady who had done some singing and some rhyming.
Yes. And that was A Billy Free.
Okay, yeah. Maybe let's talk about that show a little bit. Let the people know what was going on at that time about a year ago, right? With those artists and everything.
Yeah, another part of the weird time of the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
Because we had that going for, I think that was the first of, I did like 4 or 5 like in that series. So we were there for a few months at Little Wild at Ace Hotel. Sad to see that one go.
Yeah.
But that night was basically put together with me and Sam Thousand because our birthdays are like a day apart.
Nice.
So it's like, all right, let's do this like Leo birthday bash thing. And, I hit him up, and I think I had like a month to put it together. And it fully came together last minute because like he had some other priorities, and he was like, oh, let me verify this, and this. Let me see if I can do it. And then last minute, at first he was like, oh man, I might not be able to because it's birthday weekend, woo woo. And then he came through, you know what I'm saying, and killed it.
Wow.
So it was good to see that come together. I had been trying to get A Billy Free out here for a while, but something happened, things would fall through because she lives in New Mexico, like in the Southwest.
Wow.
And she used to live here, and that's how we know each other since like 08, 09, something like that. And then we first collaborated, like I said, like 2014, 2015.
Right.
Which was another time I brought her out here for a show. And it was one of those things of like, oh yeah, come through the crib and hear some beats, thinking we're going to make like one song. And then we did a whole album, and now,
nice.
We're working on our 3rd right now,
Okay.
But, we were able to get some decent funding from the ACE budget and flew her out for the show, so that worked out. Plus, we had just released our record, which we're sold out of now,
Nice.
So yeah, it was just good to get her out and like perform some of the songs because we hardly ever perform together. I mean, I think in this time, like since the first joint dropped in 2017, maybe. So this last like 5 years, we may have only performed together like 4 or 5 times.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, you know what? I'll be looking forward to when you could bring some more showcases like that out. That'll segue to my next thing. We were able to pop in over at the event you was doing a couple weeks ago with Open Beats. We know that you're the resident DJ with Open Beats, and that's going to be a good segue to get into your live set. So, so it's definitely one of the things that we're doing with the one-on-one showcase right now. We're going to expand it to other kind of artists, but we're definitely focusing on producers, people who make original beats, and we want to give them a platform to come through, do what they do live on camera. That's very much like this event that you do with Open Beats. We was over at the club called Dorian's, and it was nice. Like, there's a sign-up list, so new up-and-coming producers can get there early, try to get on the set. And then Uncle L's always holding down the DJ booth. He's part of the glue of how the night goes. And then, so tell us a little bit more about what's going on with Open Beats, how you linked up with that crew.
Oh, yeah. So Fest Grandiose, another producer DJ, low key MC too. But that's how I first met him. He had a rap album out. Um, it was like he was rhyming, and then like I heard him DJ, and then it's like, oh yeah, you make beats too. Um, but he started open beats at Cafe Mustache in Logan Square 6 years ago, and so it's going strong from there. And just was like building that community. It's the first like kind of open mic format for beat makers, and now there's a few. There's like Live Beats Chicago. There's Shop and Block, Plug and Play, but similar format. But what we do, like you just said, you have a sign up sheet. Like doors open at 8. People are showing up now at like 6:30.
Wow.
And just waiting, they wait until we get there to jump on that list first, because there's only 8 to 10 spots. Because every month we also have at least 2 to 3 featured artists that do like longer sets, like 30, 40 minutes. So in order to squeeze all that in, we limit the open set signups. But yeah, soon as he started it at Mustache, he was asking us, like some of the cats from Push Beats, for assistance. Like, all right, can you help co-host, do this, that, and the third? And at the time, Push Beats was kind of like dissolving because like people were moving out of town. Shout out to Coast on the West Coast. The homie Marcos is in San Diego now. Mike Handler's in Colorado. Like, it's just spread out, So there were a couple times that like Fest couldn't make it. He would hit me up to just fill in and host for him, and that just turned into a regular thing. Like, man, well, anytime, he was like, and then it was just like, yo, you're officially like co-host,
That's cool.
and I would do things slightly different when I was holding it down by myself, and that would be incorporating like some music in between while people are setting up or unplugging, whatever. So I've had people like, and that'll just be me like jumping on Spotify sometimes, or whatever playlist is on my phone. I'm just plug in and let it ride for a minute. And I've had people come up to me like, yo, what was that you was playing like in between? Or, people like ask me to send them the playlist and shit, because without him there, I have tried to incorporate like DJ sets in between too, but it was just too much to manage and run back and forth to the stage and whatnot.
Right.
So now we've moved to Dorian's, which is, like you mentioned, an ill spot because from the sidewalk, all you see in the storefront is like a record store, like a really small record shop, and you go in, and you show ID, pay, whatever, cut through the record shop, and it's like a door behind a curtain, so it's like very speakeasy,
Right.
secret hidden away place with like really great sound. It's just like a warm vibe.
Sound is good in there. I'm a stickler for good sound. I mean, obviously clubs have the budget they have, so they're not always able to order, put together the nice sound system, or maybe they don't know what they're doing. But when a place has a good sound system, you got to go support it. You know what I mean? Because when you hear live music, it's one of the few environments that we're going to hear music in its entirety, like in its real fullness, not just in your AirPods or, your car stereo is pretty nice too if you got a good one. But
sure.
There's nothing like a banging club system. You know what I'm saying? So it's very warm in there. It's very organic. It almost looks like a jazz lounge, like a lot of seating. And over where the DJ booth is, it looks like a little library. Like, so he's over by some books and shit.
Yeah.
And then the stage is, if you could imagine, is like almost like behind the bar. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's got a nice look in there.
Yeah, that whole DJ booth situation, I mean, it makes me nervous. It's like it's a very vulnerable spot. I'm like in the crowd.
Right. Right.
So that's gonna take some getting used to, but
Got to keep that one guy with you who's just the buffer, dude.
Right, just stand there.
Yeah, like
mean
this.
mug cats. Yeah.
Yeah, crossed arms. Like, you got a question? I got to answer.
Right, like
You
no,
know,
no, no.
like-
Don't talk to him. Talk to me.
Word. All right, so we're gonna get into our last little segment before we get into this production, but just bring us up to speed with what you've been doing with your production and the music you're working on right now, and what we can expect to come from you, in the next few months or whatever this year. What's on the slate for end of 2022 and 2023.
That's a big one because so I just moved and like I'm kind of building my home studio right now. So I've transitioned to doing a lot of like pre-production on the iPad, like mess with Koala a lot, and also recently having fun with Ableton Note, which my goal is to kind of make the most complete beats I can using Note,
Okay.
and then just having it be done instead of what the concept of Note is like you just start out ideas and then you send them to the Ableton cloud and then pick it up, and finish it in live like in the studio, and but I'm trying to like skip that last step,
Okay.
because it's gonna be a while before the room for the studio is like done and ready to go. So with that, I'm like half as productive as I used to be, and like a lot of people that know me, they're like, "Oh, what are you, an alien or something? Like, how are you making all these beats?" And I used to just have more time on my hands, I guess. And
Right.
so, but the last project I put out was called Koala Yummies, which I don't know if anybody remembers that. It's like an old school snack. Yeah, one person. So yeah, I was like, oh, I got all these beats I made in Koala, and so that's how I came with the title.
Nice.
And so I want to do a Koala Yummies part 2 because I got way more Koala beats.
Word.
I've been getting, like I said, sidetracked with Note though. So I'm also gonna do another project. It's just like somehow Note is gonna be in the title. And yeah, I just like putting shit together and dropping it on Bandcamp. Like
Word.
seeing, people seem to be receptive. I don't know. I don't even really check it anymore.
Sure.
I haven't posted anything on SoundCloud in like 5 years.
Yeah.
Um,
Me neither.
but yeah, just look out. Like I'm gonna just keep randomly dropping stuff.
No doubt. Yeah. So, this was a pleasure. Yeah, please, everyone here in the Chicago area, pretty much Uncle L's is gonna be somewhere DJing always. You know what I mean? So just a matter of find them on IG, whatever relevant social media platforms and outlets, and you could always catch him spinning live. And this man's got a lot of great music on the Bandcamp, so definitely check that out.
Yeah. In regards to playing out live,
Sure.
Shout out to Rebuild Foundation. They have been like holding me down, whether it's Currency Exchange Retreat at Currency Exchange Cafe or at Stony Island Arts Bank. I was just there a couple
word.
weeks ago for the Ghetto Gastro Black Power Kitchen cookbook release.
Nice.
So yeah, that's how I stay connected to the South Side because I just moved to the West Side and it's like different.
Okay.
It's different over there.
No doubt. Word. Yo, excellent. Thanks, L.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. You know what? One last thing before we go to this break. Maybe you can let the audience know a little bit about what your setup is today that you're going to be rocking live for us.
It's basically just like a DJ controller, Tractor Control S4, and then I got that going into the Control F1 that I've mapped to effects for anything that comes out of S4, and then I bought some more recent like works in progress on the iPad, so I got Koala and Note set up there, running that through the S4. So.
Word. Yeah. This was our last episode was with DJ Real One. He came just through with the one machine SB404. This man came in with the whole like scientist package, you heard? So that's why I wanted him to come through with a little explanation so y'all could stare in amazement when we get to the camera view a little later. All right. So on that note, actually, we're gonna show you a clip from last month's episode with DJ Real One. That's gonna be our little commercial break, and we'll be back in a few with DJ Uncle L live on the production set. Peace.
IKEA, iPhone dead. I think I'ma sit here on this twin-size bed and try to get a grip on what's been going through my head. Building a life with someone else is scary, cause instead you could be living single, living free. But to me, commitment is the shit and it enriches. We all heard the one about company and misery, so I ain't trying to sell you nothing. I'm too busy trying to see if it's indeed meant for me. Eventually I want it all, couple kids and a dog, Saturdays at the mall, Basquiat on the wall, my own team, a little bohemes, black postmodern American dream, lost in IKEA, looking for my girl, grinding every day to leave my mark on this world. I'm just lost in IKEA, looking for my girl, lost in IKEA, looking for my girl, grinding every day to leave my mark on this world. I'm just lost in IKEA, looking for my girl.
What you smoking for? I wanna open doors, pose with the most oppose and tell them some things that I know. I wanna open gates, goals is to motivate. Ain't been as of late, looking towards constituents to find the block to congregate. Maybe right there by the lake. How is it back home? Tell me, is it still popping now? You know I know it is, cause it's the place that shit be going down. Word the Queens and Jay and Jazz and Kells, they make that shit go round. And some new faces shook, that they still shooting rounds around. Till two bodies found. Ain't my hack a gangster track, trust me, I ain't came for that. Came to raise some babies from selling sacks to selling sounds. Skating on the daily town park, they only playground. This love to K-Dub and Body who made me watch skate mixtapes and get baked. Ain't no better place, take some time to meditate on that. In the shine, scribing about some way back. It's hard to go home, wish I could say that. Wish I could say that. We still doing this for where we from, right? Donuts in the middle of the cul-de-sac at night. Hold the cul-de-sacs for just half of the price. Opening doors, gas to flow, ain't thinking twice. We still doing this for where we from, right? Donuts in the middle of the cul-de-sac at night. Hold the cul-de-sacs for just half of the price. Opening doors, gas to flow, ain't thinking twice. We still doing this for where we from, right?
You City bred with some country ties. Solitary leaning so I can divine. Autonomy is a benefit. Pacify serial hedonists. Keep on square, follow the moving target. Breaking family curses, finishing what I started. Scarcity, supremacy, there is always enough. Extra inefficiency, don't get it all at once. Invisible demands, pushing on the plan. Invisible hand, push the lamb in the frying pan. Don't wanna talk till it's almost done. Inspiration finds persistence working. Hike up this tricky path, smoke sweet sticky grass. Come to break up all the flam flam. High power thoughts measured in kilograms. Growth prominent on the diagram. Unfolding. Thought it was just me alone or closer. Angel and a demon on my shoulder. Harness and a minor and a solar. Just to get by. Got juice to imbibe, got grind for the swine. Get what's meant for you, real life or online. Beats match and blend the soundtrack of our lives. As we rotate on the belt drive. Need a flow between doing too much, not doing more. We say we ain't doing it, peeking at the score. Desire junkies want that information. Truth ways don't want that obligation. Can we be comfortable outside of a struggle? Can we thrive outside of our bubbles? Searching for the inverse of out front. Renovate the walls of the construct. How many words can I pile before I'm gone? Stretching out the bounds of the lexicon. First string deities of the pantheon. Who am I when you not the gun? Discern, unlearn, relearn. Target, pressure point, unload. Build up, store with ample reserves. On standby, blanket on the nerves. Unfolding. Thought it was just me alone or closer. Angel and a demon on my shoulder. Harness and a lunar and a solar. Under the sky.
All right, all right. Yo, just that was crazy, yo.
Thank you.
Yeah, make some noise, studio audience, and those who might be at home in the viewing audience. Excellent. Yo, DJ Uncle L, live and direct with the tractor setup, 3-4 beat machines and all that. Yeah, real ill, man. We really appreciate you coming down, man.
Man, appreciate y'all for having me. This is fun. This is amazing.
Yo,
I like the setup here. This is crazy.
Yo, good looks, man. Yeah, and we only gotta continue and build on. Hopefully, we improve this thing and get the live broadcast going. But definitely hit L on the check-in. He's gonna have all that information to distribute this video once it's all post-production, edited, and distributed out there. You know what I mean? Word. So on that note, we want to say peace. Big shout out to everyone else in the studio audience again and those at home. All right, Gigi, if you could bring us on out.
Whoop.